Good afternoon, good morning. This is Mark Johnson, CEO of Loyalty360. Welcome you to another Loyalty360 Thought Leadership Series. In this video series, we talk to leaders in customer channel and brand loyalty about technology that impacts the ability of brands to drive unique experiences and engagement. Today, we have the pleasure of speaking with Emil Sarkissian, who's the Chief Executive Officer for Loyalty Methods. Thank you very much, Emil, for taking the time to talk to us today.
Good afternoon, Mark. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Could you tell us a little bit more about Loyalty Methods? Could you tell us a little more about Loyalty Methods and your role within the organization?
Of course, yes. So Loyalty Methods as a brand started over 10 years ago. And so our basic mission is to help brands build customer experience systems at scale and to do that safely, efficiently, and to make it work for large enterprises, seamlessly. So that's our real goal, and our company is centered around that. With all our processes and everything else that we do is focused on that mission statement.
Excellent. Could you tell us a little bit more about your role in the organization?
Right. I'm the CEO of Loyalty Methods, so I'm one of the founders of the company, and I also have spent a lot of time in the early years of Loyalty Methods actually navigating this space. When we started, it was just the airlines that were really big into that, and then slowly moved into retail and so on. So my role is both to manage the company as a business, but also as a sort of a strategic advisor in a lot of cases where loyalty strategy, customer experience strategy is discussed, and enterprises are looking for new ways to break through into the market and kind of create new ideas. So a lot of the ideation is also something that I get involved in heavily.
Excellent. Could you tell us one or two things that you're seeing today with your clients or in the market in general that they are asking for you or of you around customer loyalty?
Right. I think the top things that we're seeing right now are basically how do we. The number one thing I think is speed, and I've classified this in two different ways. It's the timeliness of the customer experience itself. Like if customers are using an app, how quickly do they receive their points? Does it take like a day to get accruals, or does it happen in 1 second after you do the purchase? Customers are basically getting used to real time, and they're demanding real time. The other part of speed is really marketers want to, internally inside of the organization, they want to deploy new tactics very quickly, new promotions, new offers for loyalty. They want to operate almost instantaneously to match market conditions as they're changing. So speed in two dimensions, customer dimension and also internal marketer dimension. And that's what we see as a top demand. And the second one is differentiation. How do we come up with ideas that are not looking too similar to other programs and are kind of engaging for our business model? Yeah.
Okay. So what are one or two things that brands should be doing based on what you're seeing from a success perspective? Can you give us a couple examples, one or two examples of what successful clients are doing around customer loyalty, customer experience that are driving unique engagement, unique advocacy, and how other brands could learn from that?
Right. So I think just examples of what people are doing, and there's plenty of examples in the industry, but the key things that I think make a difference is they're all things actually. Personalization is a big one. So no one wants to receive offers that are not applicable to them, and they disengage almost immediately when they feel the company is being sort of impersonal and just blasting them with the same offers. So personalization is a big differentiator. And so the second thing that we see, more modern things that are happening right now, are things like AR type experiences in the store. You look at different types of partnerships with movies and that kind of thing, where we are able to actually put characters, face filters, and that sort of thing into the program itself, and to award points to people for engaging in those experiences. In addition to combining those experiences with purchasing behaviors. A lot of times you'd say, hey, if you apply a face filter today, you get points. But if you do it and you buy a Coke today or something, from a retail store, then you get more points. So those kinds of interesting interactions where you're tying the fun part of it with the purchase side of it, is kind of an interesting trend that we're seeing now. But again, the primary one is personalization. I think that is key to getting people's attention and keeping people's attention right now.
Absolutely. And one of the things that we see from our audience as well, we did a survey last fall, and 69% of the people we interviewed, they have challenges with regard to technology, either from how it's being defined, how it should work, how they think it works, how it's being sold to them. So it makes it very difficult to sell internally new stacks, integration, even request money from the CFO to make these investments. Mm-hmm. So thinking about it holistically, I think it's a great opportunity, but also a challenge for the market. So how do you think we should be thinking and talking about technologies like yourself or others if marketers are challenged with regard to understanding it? How do we address that as an industry?
This isn't an easy question in terms of how there's no unique formula for this, and I think you're right that the proliferation of marketing technology, MarTech, is huge right now, and everybody claims that they're capturing a lot of, they have APIs and all of these things. I think that marketers, on the other hand, come with a expectation that these things will work immediately as together. So let's say that we have a couple of vendors that are providing different parts of the technology stack for the marketing of a company. Marketers have expectations a lot of times that these things would just work so seamlessly together. And I think you're right that the integration piece requires some education to let them know, which things integrate well together, how much, because everybody will tell, when they're trying to sell a technology, they'll tell their customers that, this is easy to integrate, it's a snap, don't worry about it. But it isn't always that simple. And I think, especially if you want some real interesting things to happen, it's not trivial. Right? So I think education in terms of how much integration is required into some things, and an independent advisor. I think marketers should seek consultants that would actually look, and that would be vendor independent and kind of look at the overall picture and sort of say, hey, this will take some work, or this will be quite easy, or that kind of thing. And I think there are people out there who are doing that. We've worked with some of them, where they hired ahead of time to build RFPs and that sort of thing. And that's, I think, one approach that at least the expectations become realistic, and people understand what the investment should be. Even if you buy technology, it's not just going to work out of the box always. Right. So
when you look at the organizations that you're dealing with, obviously diverse, are there certain characteristics of these organizations that may lend themselves to being more prone to success? Are there certain characteristics, how they're set up, organized, titles, educational levels, industries? What are some of the characteristics you see of organizations that are truly getting it with regard to customer loyalty and customer experience?
The key thing, I think, that makes something like that easier, like implementing a customer experience program, will probably be around the agility of the organization. So a lot has been said about agile and the ability to stay flexible and to be iterative in your learning. So I think organizations that are both technologically agile, but also in the business world agile. In other words, they're willing to build mechanisms to experiment in the market and to compare offers and to compare, marketing tactics, not just offers, but promos and, bonus points and things like that. So the agility of the organization, the level of agility of an organization, I think directly corresponds to their ability to really create a truly exceptional loyalty and customer experience type program. That's what I think drives most of it. Yeah.
Okay, great. And the last question we have is KPIs, metrics. What are some KPIs or metrics that you are using or you see that, again, kind of that they're doing well in these KPIs, doing well in these metrics, that the brands are doing well? Are there certain KPIs or metrics that you're seeing that brands should be cognizant of or looking to?
Right. So I think the best way to answer this is really to look at it from two levels. Level one is really a framework of how do you, what kinds of metrics would you be looking at? And the second one is what are specific metrics within that framework. I think that every process that exists out there can be measured and improved. So the reason to have metrics is to measure and improve. So if you look at the customer journey as a process, you can start measuring different parts of that process in order to improve them. So what we see a lot of times is, for example, let's look at a customer journey, a simple customer journey. They enroll, they participate in the program, they disengage or they get more engaged, and then they leave the program. That's a simple life cycle. Now, if we look at the different stages there, we can start measuring different aspects of it. Enrollment is really about which channels are doing the best enrollments, how many enrollments are coming through. Let's say you have a POS enrollment, you have mobile enrollment, you have, customer-facing display enrollment in the retail. Which one is doing the best, and how do we capitalize on that, and how do we fix the ones that are not doing well, or just not even, worry about them if we think that they're not fixable. So that's one type of KPI because it's at the front there. But if you look at customer engagement, we can start to look at, what is their average spend, what is their frequency, recency and monitoring, typical marketing statistics that you would look at during an engagement period. And then when you look at disengagement and how to bring them back, and that's another measurement that we like to, it's based on frequency obviously, but then how well are we converting disengaged people back to engaged, how do we bring them back into the fold. So I think, and in this global program metrics too, if you look at the whole program itself, is it financially viable? Is it, how much liability is it creating? How is the breakage affecting that liability and so forth. So there's different aspects of it, and then there's different types of metrics within each aspect. But I think the key message here is look at it as a process and try to improve that process by measuring key aspects of that process that you want to improve. And I think that will always drive a good set of KPIs out that are actually useful and actionable. Yeah.
Excellent. And the last question I have is kind of just an overarching question. If you could give a brand, a marketer, someone who's in charge of customer loyalty, customer experience, kind of one key takeaway or one thing that they should be thinking about or focusing more on, what would that be?
The one key thing, I would say, validated learning. So in other words, the idea that you should learn from your customer. You should build systems that allow you to learn from customers quickly and effectively. Right. Yeah. That's awesome. Really the overarching thing. Yeah. Sorry.
Simplicity is good, and I like that very simple, very concise answer. So, Emil, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us today. It was great hearing about your platform, your technology, and some things that you're seeing with regard to success metrics. It's great to hear from you guys, and we obviously look forward to hearing more from you throughout the year. Again, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Mark. I really appreciate the opportunity, and hope we'll meet again soon. Thank you.
All right, perfect.